Okay, we've been waiting to have our next guest on. I think for like a year we've been trying.
No, here's
Yeah,
the thing.
I think over a year.
No, I've been trying to get her on
Years?
since the day I was born. Like I popped out of my mother, very C-section style, and was like, Jameela, where is
Oh my
she?
God. Well, right now, joining us, you know her from The Good Place, actress, writer, activist, podcaster. Jameela Jamil is joining us right now. We are so excited.
Thank you for having me. I'm sorry, not all requests are brought to me, so I didn't see that and just tell it to fuck off.
Here's the thing. You are absolutely fine because honestly, obviously, we met via Twitter, which I thought was like a surreal moment. And you should have saw the way I like screamed.
Oh, yeah.
And Shira. Like, I am talking to Jameela Jamil, and she's the absolute most wonderful person ever. And
we had a very, very personal chat. That's how we met.
We did. I appreciated it so much just because I wasn't expecting that from you. I wasn't expecting, especially someone that has this huge platform and on a show that I watch and we don't even know each other. You were just so beautiful. Like, it was just so beautiful how you were just willing to talk with me, you know?
Oh, thank you. You were very kind.
I try. I have my days.
You don't work with him. No, I'm kidding. But all right. So everyone, obviously we have on like the first question. It's easy to jump into all this other stuff, but we like to ask, how are you? Like, how are you right now? How are you doing?
I'm okay. I'm just incredibly worried for the world. I'm feeling very homesick that I'm not in the UK and hearing about what's about to happen. I think we're going to have the highest amount of deaths next week, and you just never know who you might lose. And so I'm fucking fine. I have healthcare and I am a privileged person. No one should worry about me. It's mostly just my fear for other people, really.
Yeah. I mean, that must be hard to have your parents there. I was also feeling that way. I've had dreams about my family being taken from me, and it like reminds me of times long ago the Jews had to go through. And like, I do think it's triggering a lot of people.
Yeah, and people's mental health is just really coming up. Like, there's so much work that people haven't had the opportunity to do yet, or that they were too distracted to even know they had work to do, and all of that is coming up in people right now. And so I'm trying to be as supportive as I can to people that I know and also people that I don't. I'm on a text service at the moment with 9,000 people who have my phone number. And I'm doing that community thing. It's called Community, and I've been texting and sending like voice notes at 10 p.m. at night to people about whatever they might be going through, if it's domestic abuse or eating disorder issues or whatever, just giving them my 2 cents or offering them my support, or if they really need rent, I'm helping them pay their rent. It's just that's how I can be helpful. I'm not singing at anyone. I'm just trying to not completely be a fuck up right now.
But no, here's the thing. I know things have happened, but I feel like at a time like this, and I would have ran away from this idea of being like this activist, someone who's like in the front lines or really trying to help people in their everyday life, because that holds you up to such a critique. And for me, that's very scary. I take value and appreciation to the people that actually are willing to put themselves out there in that way. Do you ever feel like you're like, okay, I need to kind of back it up a little bit?
For sure. Jesus Christ. This year, I think I'm going to be much more thoughtful and well-behaved, and I'm going to think and consult others before I speak more. It's not to say that I definitely won't fuck up, but, you know, I realize now that you do get held to this inhuman standard. Just if you show that you care, you are criticized and nitpicked, and people search for your hypocrisy more than they do if you are someone who is just problematic and doesn't care, or you're someone who doesn't respond or is inaccessible. You know, like, we don't criticize the corporations or the networks. We criticize the people who we have access to who seem to care. We don't criticize the people who we know don't care.
Because that's interesting. Because you've opened yourself up. Your authenticity almost becomes a crack that people could use against you. Yeah,
and I respond and I apologize and I'm willing to change my mind. And so because of that, people know that I care, and therefore they can project. This is, by the way, this is not me self-victimizing, because sometimes I just do something so dumb that is mortifying later. But it's completely unintentional and with no malice. It's just I'm still getting used to I guess I'm still getting used to the idea that my words travel so fast. I've been on social media for 11 years and no one used to give a shit about anything I used to say. And suddenly I can't fart. I cannot queef. I cannot queef without it making world news and being taken as far out of fucking context as humanly possible, with the most sinister intention laced behind every single thing that I say.
Well, and I want to know though, from that point of view, if we can put a pin there, because do you feel like right now we're in a space where obviously cancel culture is such a huge thing? Do you feel like the pendulum has kind of swung too far onto one side where we're trying to recorrect history?
Well, I think what's happening is we're seeing people's rage just flow over because they're being so let down by people in power, by people with influence, by people with money. And I think that they're just fucking tired of waiting for everyone to just figure it out. They already live in an inequality where, you know, as much as there is cancel culture, and cancel culture can be very toxic and it can be very stressful if you are a privileged person on the receiving end of it, other people lose their jobs and their livelihoods. People who don't have our power and protection, they don't get a second chance the way that we do, or a third chance, or the fifth chance, or the sixth chance. So therefore they have decided to just, I guess there's a part that probably means that they are projecting that rage and resentment understandably onto us, because we should be doing better. I should be doing better. I'm doing some things that are great and effective, and I've definitely got all those like laxative shit yourself teas way off the market. And celebrities have stopped normalizing selling weight loss products to kids. I've made it too embarrassing, and also people know that I'm so fucking annoying that I will hound you. I will fucking troll you to death until you stop.
Amazing.
So people can't be bothered to engage with that sort of stuff anymore. So I think that's been effective. But some of the other stuff I've done has been careless and stupid. And I've really, really looked back at it with such regret. And I'm going to just continue to try to be as careful as possible going forward, because now I see that you cannot win, especially when you're a woman in this industry. You get held to a higher standard. You get held to, you are expected to be more nurturing and more like understanding and perfect. The pedestal is just too high. So I get it now, and I'm going to be more careful and thoughtful.
We're talking to Jameela Jamil, actress, activist, writer, and so much more. I guess, what was the turning point for you that you had all these realizations? Because once again, you said you've been on social media forever and, you know, you've been around, but was there a turning point where you realized like, oh, this is a different, like I'm living a different life now, or people are holding me to a different standard?
Yeah, it was about 2 years. Oh no, 2 years ago is when I started going viral. But there's always there's a cycle, you know, with celebrities, especially with females in the public eye, whether they're in politics or whatever, or in, you know, the arts, where we love them. The press can't get enough of them. Everything they say is amazing. The first time I saw an article that named me as Jameela Jamil, the feminist hero we need, I was like, fuck. That's the exact opposite of what I want. I kept on saying to everyone for 2 years, I was like, just a feminist in progress, left school at 16, don't know what the fuck I'm talking about, just trying some stuff, just trying to help wherever I can. I've never claimed to be an intellectual. People think that I think I'm an intellectual. I have no fucking education. I struggle with reading because of ADD. I am not a fucking intellectual. I'm just someone who has power and privilege and feels an immense duty to try and help, and sometimes tries to help or thinks I have an interesting hot take at 3 a.m. on Twitter, and fucks it up sometimes. Sometimes I do something really great and I start important conversations, but sometimes I fuck up. But
I think what comes with that role of being someone who kind of has stepped into this world of you using your platform for such good.
Yeah.
I think it comes with, yes, there's going to be mistakes made, but I think oftentimes what you see is people feeling like they aren't, because they're like, oh, well, I'm doing so much good, I can't receive critique. People can't critique even though you are. And I think the conversation of saying multiple truths can exist is very important when we're doing what we're doing, right? I think you can say, yeah, you are doing such amazing things. You are creating this place where there's a platform and a conversation to be had, but also, sis, we love you, but this is also where you messed up too.
Yeah, totally. And I'm very, very open to that. And also I realized that it's really only been in the last couple of months I've realized, because the world has stopped. So I've been able to just kind of take stock of what happened in February. Was so insane, where all these smear campaigns would sort of run against me and all these lies are put on the internet that attacked my mental health and my physical health. That really fucking hurt. And like to the point where I felt really, really suicidal, like, because I was being so triggered by my mental health being made fun of and my physical health. And if you are someone who struggled with your physical health your whole life, then having people gaslight you on a global scale about it and use the word Munchausen as a punchline, whereas that's a really serious fucking condition that loads of people suffer from, and it's very scary. But to just be that gaslit by the entire world for fun, felt like I was having my heart ripped out through my vagina and then used as a ping pong ball across a table. But all of this time has made me realize that one of the biggest mistakes I've made is that, so when you speak out about any cause, because I came out just talking about consent and mental health within, especially regarding eating disorders. But once you speak out about anything, people start asking you to speak out about everything. They're like, can you comment on this, please? Can you comment on this? And I felt this like dumb sense of duty to be like, okay, yeah, I should say something because this person's done a bad thing, and I should speak out for this community. I should speak in defense of this community, but then I would not be educated enough yet to say what I need to say, and say it in the slightest wrong way, and it gets magnified times 1,000. So I just spoke about too many things that I wasn't ready for yet. It wasn't my place. I should have just shut the fuck up and found a way to, I don't know, silently fund other people. Also, I had the best of intentions, but I even like now, even during all of this, people are like, "Can you weigh in on the Karen thing?" And I'm like, I'm gonna wait for a minute.
Yeah.
I know where I stand on it, and I've made my point clear on the internet, which is that it's not the equivalent. Everyone needs to stop.
Oh my God, I can't believe
it's so far from the equivalent that it makes it's insane. But I'm not going to inject myself into the front of that conversation now. I'm just going to be quiet. I've said my bit. I've said what I think about that it's a ridiculous argument, and I will be more careful. But it's just, or people want me to talk about the politics in Brazil or the politics in different, like what's happening in China. I get asked all day, every day to speak about every single different thing. The day I came out,
like so much anxiety and pressure right there.
Yeah,
like,
it seems like you're putting a lot on yourself.
Yeah, so
also.
it's like how do you handle that? Because you are.
Well, it didn't go very well. Yeah, it didn't go. It didn't go very well. Like, I learned a lesson from it, and you know, it's just one of those things where I was never going to know how it's going to go until I tried it, and I've always treated myself a bit like a crazed crash test dummy, where I'm so curious, I guess I just try and see what happens. There's a part of me that wonders what would happen. Like I've always wanted to do this. I've always wanted to run my career differently than how I was told. I was always told to be thin and cute and to shut up and to stay in my lane. And I don't want to do that. I want to be able to make mistakes. I want to be able to fuck up and then learn and come back and do better and continue to thrive. I would like to be afforded the same opportunities of being fallible or being outspoken or being opinionated or political as any man is. We respect men for the things that we absolutely vilify women for. And so while I have mixed results, that is my intention, is just to try to execute that's the interesting term, but to run my career with a level of kind of freedom to be myself and to grow.
Well, thank you so much for sharing and also being so real about the impact of all this on you and your mental health. It's a vulnerable thing to share that. So thank you. And when you're in that place and you have been outspoken about your mental health, what do you do to get out of that? Like, you know, how do you get out of that dark place?
Well, I'm very lucky that I have a very, very, very lovely boyfriend who is incredibly, well versed in not only me but also mental health, and he's very, very supportive. And I also we both live with two of our best friends. We have a frat house essentially. It's just me and three guys in a
I love that.
Yeah. And so we basically live not sexually but pretty much on top of each other, and every morning when James and I have coffee and cookie in bed, both the boys come and get into the bed with us and share the cookie, and we all have coffee and cookies together, like the world's worst rom-com, like the world's worst sitcom. Like, it's just disgusting. But I was surrounded by my best friends, and I also started medication for the first time ever. So I started taking anti-anxiety meds, which I'd always been afraid of taking, because there was a tiny part of me that, with all my progressive mental health chat, always felt like it was a cop-out to take medication. And now I realize how wrong I was and how much they've saved my life.
Really? So it's helped a
Wow.
lot.
Yeah, because I'm not someone who suffers from suicidal ideation, but I have a history of suicidal issues because mine comes in the form of I can become so anxious that I'm almost like I just want to stop the world. I want to get off. It's a very quick, happens very, very quick. It's very overwhelming when it happens.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just a matter of, holy shit, I can't take this anymore. That's where I'm in danger. And so I started taking a little bit of medication and I feel so much better. I'm so chilled.
Good. Because we need you here.
We need you here.
I don't know if everyone would agree with that.
Girl, lies. Of course, we're talking with actress, writer, activist, and podcaster Jameela Jamil. I want to know, have you ever struggled with imposter syndrome? Because you did really, skyrocket to everyone's public eye. And I always want to know, especially for me personally, and I think I'm asking this question more so for myself than anything. How have you handled that? How has that always, or is that always going to be a part of you?
It's a bit like, for me, it's like body positivity. I can't get to body positivity. I can't love my body because I've been trained by the world to hate it. So in the same way as if you are a person of color, or if you are LGBTQ+, or if you are marginalized in any way, or if you are a woman, you are more likely just to feel imposter syndrome. You are more likely to, you've been explicitly told that if you are not a straight white cis male, then you are not welcome. And if you are in a room, you are lucky to be in any room that you get to be in. You are lucky to be allowed to stay there. You are lucky to have any opportunity that you have. It is normalized for straight white males, and it is not normalized for the rest of the world. So I think therefore that lends itself to all of our imposter syndrome, where we can't believe what we have, any even morsel of what we have, because we were always told that that was not for us. And so I don't negotiate with it. I've decided to not try to prove to not try and tell myself at the time, I belong here, because that's too exhausting for me to get to. Instead, when I hear that thought, I just bat it out of my head. I'm like, you know what? It doesn't matter if I belong here or not. I'm fucking here now, and I'm going to do everything I can until I get kicked out.
How do you get to that though?
There's a lot of worthiness. There seems to be, you have a lot of self-worth and self-value, even though you fought that and you have conflicts around it.
It's not so, I don't really have that much self-worth. I would love to say that I did, but I don't. I still really struggle. I still struggle with feelings of worthiness, but what I have is balls of steel. Like, in the fact that I know that plenty of people don't think I belong here. I don't think I belong here necessarily. And yet I'm here. So what am I going to do? Throw it away because some people, or because I don't think I belong here? I have the opportunity that so many people would wish for. I'm going to use it for the best, in the best way that I can. And that may not help everyone. That may not be the most progressive way, but for me, that helps. It's the same thing, what I was trying to say with the body image, is that I can't love my body. I can't love my cellulite. I can't love my stretch marks as much as I would like to. So instead, I'm just neutral. I'm like, okay, that's there. And that's fine. And now I'm going to get on with my day and build my business and build my relationships and build my mental health. Does that make sense?
Yeah. No, yeah. I was going to ask, where did this, as the Jews say, the chutzpah come from? Where did these balls of steel come from?
Nervous breakdown when I was 26. Realized I was fresh out of options for anything. Complete meltdown, ruined my whole life. Just total shit show. Iconic shit show, I would say. And lost control of everything. And I think when you hit that level of rock bottom, you're just open to anything at that point. You have nothing to lose. And that's what I think my behavior demonstrates publicly sometimes, is like, there's a wild zoo animal on the loose. I have nothing to lose anymore because I've lived at the bottom of the well. And so while I need to fucking rein it in and be more responsible, it's afforded me such freedom in being able to just say fuck it more often than I ever knew I could. And so, if I don't think I deserve to be on The Good Place, which I fucking didn't because I wasn't an actor and I'd never, ever, ever acted before that first audition for The Good Place, had that not happened, so because that happened, that gave me a sense of very earned imposter syndrome. I was literally a fucking imposter around all of these amazing trained actors, all of whom have been doing this for somewhere between 10, 20, 40 years on a Mike Schur hit show. How dare I be there with zero training, with zero idea of what I'm doing? And I had to act opposite Ted Danson, the most seasoned of the actors, for most of my scenes for season 1. I was dying inside. oh my God, I was having to comfort eat so much that I gained like 11 pounds during season 1. Like I had to wear all of my costumes open at the end of the season because I couldn't fit into any of my clothes. I'm wearing everything as a bib. Everything's an apron. My gas was out of control because I was eating new food.
So you was just farting
all
everywhere?
the time. Oh my God, my asshole was open for the whole of season 1. It was insane. Like Kristen Bell's so small, so she's right next to where she's closer to my asshole than my head is. You know what I mean? So yes. I'm worried that I'd like constantly the fear of farting on her overtook my fear of being a bad actor.
Wow,
and that carried me.
I never knew we would be at this moment where you would congratulate or like thank a fart.
The fart come into the conversation.
Thank 12,000 farts, but you know, it is what it is. And I imagine being in actual imposter syndrome where you are an imposter. I felt like an alien from out of space around these people who know how to learn lines and who know how to deliver the lines, and people who know how to cry on demand. I didn't know how to fucking cry on demand. I had to use the little eye drops because I couldn't do it. I didn't have the training. So I just don't negotiate with doubt.
Yeah.
I understand it. I'm not going to try and beat it because it's very prevalent in me because I'm a woman who's been very oppressed for a lot of my life, and historically it's in our kind of psyche. So I just... yes, I feel the imposter syndrome, and I don't wish to bow down to it.
So with all that being said, and obviously The Good Place being such a beautiful hit and it's come to an end, what did you learn the most about yourself from playing your character?
Oh, she's so debilitated by what other people think of her. And I think that really helped me continue to let go of caring about what other people think of me, because I didn't want to end up like Tahani, and I didn't want to go to hell, which is where she'd first gone, for all of her motivations being so corrupt and for her being so obsessed with other people's approval. I'd already started to want to let go of that, but that was a real moment for me during the course of season 1, and understanding this character and working her out and creating her with Mike was just, I don't want to be like this. This is fucking exhausting, and I've been like this for so long. And so I think that was a big part of like me becoming more and more of a wild card.
Yeah.
Blame Tahani is what I'm saying.
That is, I feel like the universe gave you that for a reason. Isn't that amazing? In your journey, you end up playing someone who's fighting that as well. It's just kind of ironic.
In the industry that's all about, impressing other people, impressing people to stay on a show, impressing people to continue to have a platform. It feels quite ironic to be in this industry where you're trying not to act like you want people's attention, but honestly, we do. We kind of need
dichotomy.
It.
Also, I don't pretend that I don't want people's attention. Everything I do is when I'm talking about a cause, I'm trying to get fucking attention. I'm doing something insane. I'm pretending to shit fire on a toilet, or I'm saying something deliberately very inflammatory and provocative. I'm not here pretending that I'm trying to do this in a cool way. You can't be cool and make change. You can't instigate mass change and be cool at the same time. All the people that we love and we think are cool don't say shit. They don't say fuck all. They don't get involved in any conversation, and therefore we get to live in the mystique that they probably have the right unproblematic thought about everything, and that they're educated and schooled on everything. So we get to project the best impression onto people who say nothing. And you have to be annoying. You have to be a bit much. You have to fucking go through the journey and the process of updating your information, sometimes publicly. You have to be a pain in the fucking ass, and you have to be so attention seeking in order to instigate the mass change that in some ways I have been able or a part of instigating.
But the reason why people I feel like the reason why people don't speak up and they step aside and they keep their thoughts to themselves in private is because they're afraid of their career. They're living this world of scarcity where they're like, if I speak up on this, or if I say something, then it could all go to shit.
You get ripped more of an asshole if you do try than if you don't.
Yeah, so how do you care about your career but also care about your platform?
I don't care. I don't care about my career.
You don't care at all?
No, not really. I've been very grateful to do everything that I've done, but my main concern from the very first time I sat down with an agent 12 years ago was that I wanted to try and help people feel less unhappy. That has always been my main journey. So if I ever just get to write shitty columns on a blog, like later, you know, that no one pays me for that, or I become, maybe go back to school and train as a mental health care worker, I'm okay with losing everything. It's better than staying in this industry and being a part of what is poisonous about it. I can't be in this industry and be silent. Not me personally. I can't place judgment on others who do, but none of this would sit right with me, to be able to have all of these things that are so good and so much better and so undeserved. The fact that we get free shit when we are already wealthy is insane to me. Like the amount of things that make no sense to me about this industry. And so to just take and take and take and not use any of that to give and to help, for me, would make me feel just really dirty and gross. I was a victim of bad celebrities when I was a kid. People who either said nothing or perpetuated the worst ideals. And I saw how badly that influenced me and fucked me up. To be a part of that is just gross. I prefer just to get in here and just blow it all up from the inside, which as a Pakistani person is a dangerous thing to say. But you know what I mean? I mean, I don't mean it in that way.
Of course.
Wait, but Jameela, what do your parents think? I mean, you didn't come from a celebrity family.
No.
You're an anomaly, human, probably, in their eyes.
I think my whole family, I don't talk about my family publicly ever, but I will say that, you know, no one's got a problem with what I'm doing.
Yeah. I mean, let's go back to the celebrity thing, because obviously we talked earlier in the show about how Ellen's kind of under some fire for joking that this quarantine felt like prison, and she's in her beautiful big ass mansion.
Yeah.
And of course, I think we've been seeing
the song, and Ryan, the song.
You know, Gal Gadot, you know, was trying to create a message of positivity. What do you think is, you know, celebrities have been critiqued about for what some people would call tone deaf responses? Because it does feel like that in a time like this.
I mean, sometimes I'm the fucking queen of a tone deaf response, but I don't really have the right to criticize anyone. But I will say that I think it's shown a lot of people's asses and shown how little celebrities think they have to do, the crumbs that they feel like they need to give to people, and they think that that'll be, because up until now, by the way, it's a very interesting moment, right? So up until now, we have been so grateful for the morsels. Really, up until the last maybe a couple of years, especially the last couple of months, we've just been, I'd say, we thank them for anything that they do, and we make them feel like they are the best for any minor action or statement, or just like a message with some hearts on it. That's it. People go wild, it goes viral, they freak out. There's fandemonium. And so, you know, we have expected so little from them, and the way that we have aspired towards their wealth, and we've aspired towards their fame, and just congratulated them on how on them peaking in capitalist representation. That's all suddenly, it meant something to, you know, the masses, to just celebrate everything about them. So therefore celebrities have become accustomed to just being worshipped all of the time for any single thing they do. There's a chance that a lot of them who are trying to be like, oh, I'm so bored at home, are trying to be relatable. And it's like, you live in a house that looks like someone else's dream holiday.
Yeah, right.
Fuck off.
Exactly.
Just fuck off. Don't say you're bored when there are literally a million people to help. I'm never bored. I haven't been bored for 1 minute of the last month, because there are a million things that we could be doing with our money and with our influence. Just fucking get to work. If you're so bored, I've got 15 fucking charities that you can go and get involved with. But that's just my take on it. And I think that is going to come to a fucking abrupt end now.
Yeah.
I think our hero worship of people for the wrong values is going to go away, because now people are really in trouble. People are losing their healthcare, their jobs, their ability to support their families. That so many people are going to become homeless. Like we've no idea how long this shit's going to go on. And suddenly what has been celebrated as suddenly all of these shallow things that have been celebrated are no longer valuable at all. And now they're being despised, and we are entering an eat the rich moment that I think has been coming for a long time. And I understand and support it.
And are you the type that I know you've called celebrities out publicly, but are you the type that you'll DM a friend who's like a celebrity and be like, listen, what you just said, you probably want to, are you that type that will look out?
Yeah.
Or like,
Yeah, for sure. I think if someone, I would even do that. I do that with people that I don't know. I reach out to people all the time that I don't know. And so I, just to be like, this has come across not very well. Would you like some help? And I can put you in touch with people from that community who can help, you know, or who can maybe like, who you can talk to and understand and support. Maybe you could support their work and get involved with their organization and help them out. So I do that all the time. And not so much that I think that I should counsel them through it, but just being able to put people in touch with the right people who can guide them in a better direction.
We want to get into, because you're coming to us from a studio. You've been recording your podcast, I Weigh. You started this whole movement in 2018. What inspired you to start it, and then how has it evolved?
Well, it's very ironic. It was in defense of the Kardashians. What's happened to our relationship since was not expected. I didn't intend on it. I actually quite liked them.
I'm like, Jameela, I can't take you nowhere. You always showing out.
I saw a picture of these women, and it was a group shot of just the women in the family, and they all had numbers written across their bodies. Now those numbers were not how many things that they had achieved or how much money they were worth. This is a family of multiple billions of business women. And so once I'd clicked on that one picture, the algorithm started to present me with lots of similar pictures. So Selena Gomez, how much she weighs, Demi Lovato, how much she weighs, Taylor Swift, Beyonce, like Rihanna, how much they weigh. And so I started being flooded with kind of pro-anorexic, pro-eating disorder, pro-fat phobia accounts all the time, and just snapped. I couldn't find a picture of a group full of men with all their weights written across their bodies unless they were UFC fighters. So I just snapped one day on social media and I write, I fucking weigh my relationship, my friendships, my activism, my financial independence, the eating disorders I survived, just like a bunch of different things. I weigh the sum of all my motherfucking parts. And I didn't solicit any pictures back, but 10,000 pictures came back to me within the first couple of days. Wow. And I started an Instagram account for it. I thought it would be very short-lived. And yet 2 years later, we now have 1 million followers. And we did this without a social media agency. It was just me and my friend Megan, just uploading content, whatever would come in, we would just upload. And it's turned into a whole movement. We've changed the global policy on Instagram and Facebook because I harassed everyone to get these things off of social media. I'm still working with other social media platforms to do the same. And now we're working on bills for height and weight discrimination and for getting detox and diet products and muscle gain products off of the market for anyone under the age of 18 and putting them behind a locked box. Because there's so much shit that people don't know is in this stuff, like muscle gain products. They put Viagra and toxic metals in muscle gain products.
Yeah, that's crazy. Wow.
They're fucking with the impotence of young boys who are just trying to match the Instagram perfect image. And I know that definitely affects so many of my friends who are gay men, who feel like they have to, where there's a similar expectation of physical perfection that women have, that standard that women are held to, that definitely exists within the gay community. As I've seen with so many of my friends who struggle with their body image, they're taking these products and not knowing that it's fucking with their sex drive, and they're ingesting all of these toxic heavy metals. These things aren't regulated, and they're just sold and then peddled by fucking greedy celebrities. It's just so annoying.
Yeah. And I mean, you've obviously been super supportive of people taking this time in social isolation to take care of themselves and their mental health and not obsess over food and weight. What are some of the methods that you're doing to combat your own cabin fever and to keep your spirits high?
I mean, I'm I'm sort of slightly hard of hearing, antisocial house cat. Anyway, I'm super I was built for this scenario. I've been this is my teens all over again. I don't have any fucking friends. Now at least I've got someone that I can love and shag with me, which is different. But other than that, I'm in exactly the same scenario. So I'm built for that, and I've also been very lucky to have accessed a lot of therapy before any of this happened. So I'm not saying that I have no work to do on my mental health, but I'm generally quite stable. The advice I would give to people is don't pressure yourself to get beach body ready, because no one's going to be on a beach body, and also to have a beach body you just have to have a body and go to the fucking beach. Don't worry about your weight, don't worry about getting abs, don't worry about trying to live up to these photoshopped nonsense images that you're seeing on social media right now. And don't worry about being creative and becoming a TikTok star and starting an interview show. Do you know what I mean? Don't put pressure on yourself.
Oh my God,
well, thank you for calling out my co-host Shira Lazar, because that's all she's doing.
No, I don't.
That's all she's doing, and she's so annoying. She's been trying to get me. First of all, we have a story about this. She's been trying to get me to do TikToks for
It's not fair.
It's crazy. It's taking over the world.
Is this an intervention? Just be honest. No,
I called Jameela here to please help control the white woman in my life because she's driving me insane.
But it is true. There's a lot of things going around, and it's like, how do you find this balance between doing what you got to do and taking quote unquote advantage of this time, but also not
Right.
putting this pressure on yourself. And like, do you feel that way?
I've seen other celebrities doing sponsored ads. Like
For
to
that?
do with the coronavirus, like to do with
Like,
the coronavirus, where they're just like, now's a great time to clean out your closet. Hashtag
Yeah.
ad, hashtag partner with some company that helps you do that online. I thought, oh my God. I would say that if you are someone who is lucky enough to be allowed by your work or is in a situation where you have been forced to be inside for a long period of time, which in itself is a strange luxury because we're able to be safe at least, rather than those who are having to be out there in the world working.
Yep.
While I know it's painful and I know that it exposes so many terrible things, and eating disorder problems, mental health problems can arise, and domestic abuse can rise. But while you are indoors, the most worthwhile thing you can do is you take this moment to work on yourself emotionally, because a lot of shit's going to be surfacing right now that you've been able to silence with the noise of the city or with work or distraction. Right now is an amazing opportunity to investigate anything you haven't had time to investigate until now, and look for online mental health resources. I'm constantly finding new mental health resources that are free or very affordable for people and posting them on my social media. I'll keep doing that throughout the quarantine. But work on your mental health so that you come out of this stronger, because what we are coming out of this into is a very distressing world.
Yep.
There's going to be so much fucking pain, and people are going to be so angry on social media, and it's going to be a brutal place.
Yeah.
And for good reason.
Yeah. I hope, I mean, I also am optimistic. I hope we could find the beauty and come together on that. I say that, but you brought
I
up,
don't think that's realistic.
I mean, that isn't, but so you brought up the therapy, which is so crucial. Do you have any other personal routines that help you, or hobbies?
No,
anything like that?
No, I'm really like, I'm not dealing with this in an adult or organized way. I'm just allowing myself to be intuitive and go with the flow. I feel frozen with anxiety and empathy for other people right now, and I'm just trying to figure out how I can be helpful. And so I work still because I'm lucky to be able to do my job from home. And from a podcast studio. And so I do my work, and I spend an unbelievable amount of time staring in my fridge. And then I try and go for a little walk every single day. Although that's a lie, because really just 3 times. But my plan going forward.
Good intentions.
So 3 times, but I'm going to be walking every day, guys.
I mean, you should.
And watching as much comedy as possible. That's been my main escape, has been watching so many old comedies that remind me of a better time, and watching old TV shows or new TV shows. There's so much content available to us, so many things I never had the time to watch. And I'm trying to escape my way out of a lot of this. And when something comes up with my mental health, I investigate it. Yeah. And I take time out for that. But for me, I'm not being able to focus as much as I would like to. So I'm just being very tender with myself and just doing whatever I can to be helpful to myself and to other people.
Jameela, you have such a relatability about yourself that I often wonder when I'm like just thinking about talking to you, and we're doing this now, but do you ever think of like people feel like there's possibly a disconnect with trying to continue to relate to you and relate to the things that you're doing and the voice that you are lending out and speaking about this because of your own sense of privilege that you do have that's around you? Is that ever something that crosses your brain of being like, I can understand why some people don't possibly connect in that way?
Of course. Why the fuck would I'm not trying to be relatable.
But you are. I love you.
But
some people relate. Some people might relate to me. Some people don't relate to me. All I'm doing is just talking about how I feel about stuff or what I think about stuff. I have no agenda here. The only agenda I have is to harass everyone out of selling diet and detox products on the internet. I don't come here with any clearly I don't have a fucking plan. Look at my social media. Look at what oh my God. Of course, I need a fucking plan. I should have a plan. I should let my publicist anywhere near me and check what I'm going to say before I say it. Like, I don't have a plan. I'm not trying to be relatable. I completely understand why people find me either frustrating or unrelatable, or, also when it comes to when I speak out about stuff to do with body image, I understand the difficulty in hearing me say these things when I exist within the parameter of what is considered socially acceptable or socially pretty in some spaces. I understand why people struggle with it. I look like the enemy. And I come from privilege, and I don't come from privilege. I definitely don't come from privilege, but I exist in privilege now. There are so many things that are understandable for anyone to resent, that when I was a kid who was poor growing up, I fucking resented celebrities. I found everything about them frustrating. And so, you know, I'll figure it out. I'll figure out how to walk the line, but I don't expect anyone to trust me until I start to actually really get things right. I'm in this for the long haul. This isn't a popularity contest to me. I'm aware that no one's going to trust me right now, and I'm going to have to prove it to them by doing the work and actually in action. And in 10 years' time, I'm okay with being misunderstood now. But in 10 years' time, if I've done a good job and I've made things safer for young people online, and I've started important mental health conversations, then maybe at some point people will be like, "Oh, cool, she wasn't evil after all." But if people doubt if you doubt my intentions now, that's fine. There haven't been many people who put themselves out there like this, or who've done what I'm doing and who make the mistakes that I've made. Why would anyone trust this? This isn't common.
Yeah. Hindsight is 2020. So when you're in the eye of the storm, it's always challenging. We're of course Channel Q. We give everyone a voice. We're the first LGBTQ plus music talk station
ever, honey. Just saying.
Amazing.
So you've recently officially, come out, and whatever people say about that, one, we applaud you and just you being you. But what was your journey like in terms of being part of the community? Was it something you always knew? How has it evolved?
I'm going to be careful about this, because every time I speak about it, it gets twisted and turned into, and also I'm not amazing at speaking about it yet, but what I will say,
from your experience, we're not talking about what,
we don't want to know about your coming out experience.
Yeah.
We just want to know, like, when did you realize that was you were a part of this community? Because I think
I was at school. I was falling in love with girls at my school and not being able to tell them, because I went to such a homophobic school and such a homophobic time, and I was also already fat and like South Asian and chubby and poor. Sorry, no, sorry, I'm start that again. I was already chubby and South Asian and broke, and so therefore you couldn't also be queer. That wasn't going to be acceptable. Like, I was barely surviving the first three. Never mind during the time where gay used to be used as a word that meant bad. Oh, that's so gay. And so I never told anyone. I never really told anyone until the last couple of years. I didn't even come out to my best friends, because I'd always, I had to tell a friend last year that I'd been in love with her 10 years ago when we first became friends, which I imagine was quite weird for her to hear, and then wonder like why I stopped being in love with her. It's like a weird double-edged sword, very flattering and then also quite devastating.
But yeah, that's scary, because you don't want your friendship to change after so long.
No, and so
but I
kept it in for a really long time, and that's because I grew up South Asian, and I grew up with it being something that I was afraid of and I felt guilty about, and also I never wanted to come out publicly. I don't even know if I would have ever, other than that misguided moment in February. I don't know if anyone heard about that, but I was never going to say it, because I was so worried that because I insert myself into so many spaces, people would think I was saying it just to be trendy. So I was planning on keeping it quiet forever, and then just had a mad moment and snapped and just said it at an inappropriate time. But I do want to clear one thing up, which is recently I gave an interview where during the interview in real lifetime, I started to understand something about my sexuality, and unfortunately started working it out while in front of a journalist on tape.
Oh,
so
God.
Yeah.
they
Processing, yes.
So because I speak about it very unclearly, and I say, I guess, and I think it got printed in a way that made it look like I was being very flippant about sexuality and my sexuality, as if I was one of those girls who's like, yeah, sometimes I just kiss girls, like maybe I'm gay. It wasn't like that at all. It was that I was being asked to define my queerness, and I guess I had always thought I was bisexual, but as I was saying it, I was like, but I've been attracted to people who are trans or people who are non-binary, and I don't really necessarily subscribe to the idea of the binaries in as regards to who I am attracted to. And so therefore, by saying I'm bisexual, it doesn't actually regard who I have fallen in love with or who I've been attracted to. And so when I said I fancy everyone, it wasn't like, oh, I fancy everyone. I was uncomfortable. I was in the worst possible situation. I should have just said pass on the question, but I didn't, because I'm an idiot.
No. Here's the thing, and I want to stop you right there. Can I stop you right there? Because I feel like you don't understand. For me as a queer, fat Black person throughout my life, growing up in the South, like I was at church every 5 seconds battling with my own sexuality. There's a messiness that comes with this journey. It's not always going to be right. I didn't even used to identify as queer. I used to have these stereotypical, like heteronormative kind of ideals that I felt like even in gay relationships, people were supposed to follow. And for me, I've recently developed this language of saying, like, obviously I'm queer. It doesn't really matter. But, you know, I feel like it's okay to have these messy moments of trying to figure it out. Yeah, you were in a moment where you were just like kind of thrown off guard, but I think that's the issue with a lot of times with some of these possibly, and you can't put a sexuality on a publication, but with when they have normally people that are not a part of the communities that they're talking to, or they're, you know, people reading this stuff are not a part of the communities. They don't know how to tell these stories. They don't know how to navigate the conversation, right? And I think that's where a lot of times things can be twisted around, because I think anyone a part of this community knows that the journey is not just one way, this way, that way. It's
not linear.
No.
And it's also, we are not monolithic. We are all different human beings.
And I'm a clickbait target. I'm a huge clickbait target. It happens all the time. Everything I say gets twisted way out of context, or like I said, laced with such sinister intention. And they take a sentence completely out of context, like I guess I fancy everyone. It was like a long conversation I had with her that just got brought down to, you know, in the edit and in the press articles to make it look like I'm this just flippant, stupid asshole. So I do regret sometimes that I'm not better at saying pass on a question. I need to stop answering every question and just trying to sort of like fumble my way through it. I've learned that, but I also do understand that I've cut myself some slack for my imperfection at talking about this, and understand that I'm still figuring it out. Like when you've only just really come out to most of the people that you knew, you know, you're still just really understanding how you feel and starting to feel safe to understand who it is.
What's the media's responsibility in that? Because oftentimes they are the ones putting this message out. What responsibility should they be taking when being careful with stories like this for the future generations of LGBTQ youth?
I think they shouldn't try to tell these stories in a sensational way. I think that there should just be more stories that are more normalizing and less sensationalist about LGBTQ. I think there should just be more representation, and more people should be. I also think that I would like to have these conversations with more queer journalists rather than just, you know what I mean? I would like to have more conversation. Exactly. No, but that's why this is. So I've tried to avoid doing any interviews or press about this whatsoever. Right. And then I slipped up with the Times a month ago in just a moment where I got caught completely off guard, because everyone's supposed to know that I don't want to talk about this. But the only place I would...
We appreciate, by the way, we appreciate you even sharing and being...
No, I understand, but no, for sure. For sure.
I was like, for us, we respect boundaries. I mean, we talk about it here. I'm so happy to be surrounded by people that have even taught me about boundaries. And I think it's important. And I'm like, I want to make sure if we're going to have these conversations, we're going to do it where we're all feeling comfortable.
The safe space.
This is very safe.
But these are the kind of journalists, you're the kind of people I want to talk to about this sort of thing. And like, if I'm talking about body issues, I would like to talk to a journalist who has existed within that community. I would like to talk to more journalists of color. Like I rarely get to talk to journalists of color, and I've started now asking for them, because I would like to make sure that those are the people that I'm having these conversations with. Otherwise, it's just overwhelmingly people who don't understand what I'm talking about from their own point of view. And also, we just need more fucking representation. We need more normalizing so that these conversations aren't such a big deal. We're talking about queer as if it's this brand new thing. This is so ridiculous that we're still talking about these things as if they're new. We need to have these conversations constantly in the mainstream. We need more representations of trans lives and trans stories in our mainstream media. The fact that the only time we ever hear about trans people is normally when they've been murdered, or if the minority of them have committed some sort of crime that then gets used as a weapon against all of them. Let's tell some stories about success stories about trans people. That show some normal stories about their relationships, that normalize their culture within the mainstream. Mm-hmm. I just think there's just, I think there are so many flaws in the media, but I also know the media aren't going to change, because they know that what works is money, and also the things that incite hysteria and rage are the things that travel the fastest and get the most clicks. And I have been I've allowed myself to be that fodder for a really long time, and I'm just going to try to be more thoughtful and careful going forward, and not to give people that opportunity to just use me as a fucking piñata.
Yeah, and only do it with people that you trust.
Yeah. And you build that, and that takes time to figure that out. And trial and error, unfortunately. We do want to ask, just because I know we're like getting a bit late
over.
now.
Yeah, we're gonna say this.
But just advice. There's just two questions that we got from social. Advice for LGBTQ plus youth who might be at home with family who don't accept them right now, who are stuck at home in quarantine.
As in, for me to give advice?
Yeah. Do you have any advice? All right, Jameela, do you have any advice for LGBTQ plus youth who might be at home with family who doesn't accept them right now and they're stuck in quarantine?
The only advice I have is that you are in a moment of complete survival and you don't have anywhere else right now to go. It is not safe for you to be outside. And so right now you just have to be as gentle with yourself as you can. There are certain conversations that are just going to lead to pain right now in this moment. And I understand you're going to want to fight for yourself and stand up for yourself. But my personal opinion is that we should all be doing our best to survive. And you should ask your parents to give you some tenderness in this moment where you are all shacked up together and can't escape. Ask them for some compassion. Ask them for some empathy, and maybe don't try to have this huge conversation right now where there's nowhere for you to go, where you're trapped inside. Maybe wait until you feel safer and more free, and you have more of a feeling of autonomy, when you can even if you're someone who lives at home, you can go to a friend's house for a couple of days. You don't have that luxury right now. So my personal opinion would be to just somewhat withdraw and watch comedy and keep your headphones on and listen to music that uplifts you, and escape to another place that makes you feel more free, because right now is not that time. That's my personal opinion. I hate I hate ever being someone who's telling someone to stifle their truth, even momentarily. But I also am learning that there's a time to pick your battles, and there's a time where you don't want this to become an unlivable situation.
Yeah.
So try to avoid that.
So another social question that we have from your Twitter, it looks like you love to bake. What chef would you want to be quarantined with, or even if it's just a celebrity?
I can't fucking bake. I can't bake. If I could, I can't. I was on the Great British Bake Off and I set fire to everything. And then I ate too many of my ingredients, and I made the only dessert in the history of the Great British Bake Off that was deemed unsafe for Mary Berry to eat.
You almost killed Mary Berry?
I almost killed. I could have. Let's not make that the headline of this conversation.
Okay. Yeah, look, that's not.
Jameela Jamil tried to kill beloved white lady.
Everyone's favorite grandma.
But yeah, so I was abysmal. I was fucking abysmal on that show. I cannot bake for shit, and that's why I'm such a pervert for other people's baked goods. I guess if we're talking about baking, I don't even know if she can bake, but I would like to just be in a house with Nicole Byer so she can talk to me about baking.
Yes, I love her. Well, Jameela.
Yeah, this has been amazing. We really appreciate your time and your openness. And I hope you continue practicing who you really are in your truth, because that's all you have.
Thanks, mate. I'll try and not fuck it up.
No,
and listen, and you might, but like that's just part of the journey. There's like, you might fuck it. I mean, you don't know, but all you can do is be yourself and express your truth with the world. That's all you can do.
I appreciate what you're doing with this podcast very much, and thank you for having me as a guest.
Thank you.